Well, and the beautiful backdrop of Riva del Garda, we have great pleasure of having Susie Puello with us to chat about e-mountain bikes. Now, we have to thank Susie Puello and Felix Puello for actually inventing eMTB back in 2010. I actually rode my first HaiBike in 2013. I'm sure people want to know, how did it all begin back in 2010?
Very interesting time. When in 2010, we have to say, Bosch came up with the first really strong and reliable motor. Felix and I were thinking as a couple, what can we do with the e-mobility? Because we were discussing 10 years ago, long time ago, about these topics. But we both knew, as long as we have not a reliable motor who brings a sportiveness in these e-mobility thing on two wheels, we knew that might be the day we just start with something brand new. We just were dreaming both of an e-mountain bike, because what we have learned, especially me when I was young, born in a bike company family, that bikes must be sportive, bringing in a bit, I just call it sex appeal, you know, to be a bike which people want to have, you know, and therefore we were brave and said, okay, let's make it on an e-mountain bike. And I think as a couple, it was very interesting having a 2 months or 3 months controversial discussion from a few of a man, from a few of a woman. But if you look on the mountains, on the streets and everywhere today all over Europe and also in the US it's starting, then I think that was the right moment and changed the bike world in principle.
Yeah, that's a big statement. I think you did change the mountain bike world for sure. I mean, tell us about HaiBike. How did the name HaiBike come about, and what was the story behind that?
This is just another story. When we were in Germany, only used to ride urban bikes, trekking bikes, and the mountain bike boom came up from the US in the beginning of the 90s, end of 80s. We were thinking with the own brands we had at this time, we cannot make a sportive brand out of it. And that was when the name HaiBike was born in 1994.
Right. It's quite interesting what you mentioned there. I mean, obviously, mountain biking started, well, arguably mountain biking started in California in the late 70s,
Exactly.
late 80s. I think it actually started in Wales in the UK. That's a different story. But when you look today, you look at the likes of Germany and maybe Europe in general, they're way ahead of America, I would say, and especially the UK. How can those countries, America and UK, how can they improve to get in a place where Europe is in terms of e-mountain biking?
It's not an easy question, frankly saying, that I think maybe the direction these two continents are coming from. The US is a pure sporty bike nation, let me say, while the Central Europe countries were doing both. We were used to have trekking bikes, city bikes, and sportive bikes. And I think an e-mountain bike was then these born of an all-terrain bike, I would say, because it's not only used for sportive activities. People sitting on an e-mountain bike also in a relaxed, nice city or whatever. And of course, we have the better infrastructure for those than the Americans really use their bikes as sportive ones. But when I look at New York at the moment, they are really way ahead they were 10 years ago. And now we see also an impact for e-bikes in principle and e-mountain bikes for the United States and I guess in UK as well.
What's the future, do you think, of, what should we call it? Should we call it analog bike? Should we call it the push bike? I mean, I feel we've got to a turning point in 2024. It's taken maybe 14 years, but what do you see the future of analog or push bikes, mountain bikes are?
If you ask me, I would say it's for me not an either or. What we see in Europe is that more and more people using both kind of bikes. If you have a mountain bike in your garage, most of the people in the meanwhile have next to it an e-mountain bike. So that means you can do both in parallel. And I think this is something which is growing. Even I believe that mountain bike and e-bike in principle will continue far more growing than an analog or bio-bike, we say, is growing.
What do you call it again?
Bio-bike.
Bio-bike, okay, right, yeah.
That's a German word for.
Okay.
But I think there will be a certain volume of normal mountain bikes, bio mountain bikes,
Yeah.
for very sportive people. But the e-mountain bike and the e-bike segment will growing far ahead of this in the future. That's my personal thinking.
Yeah, because I mean, people who, you know, we've seen people who are coming from mountain biking, we've seen people who are new to mountain biking. I mean, you say people have many bikes, but for lots of people, when they begin in it, they can probably only afford one bike, right? So what bike do you think they'll be buying? Do you think in the future they'll be buying the e-bike rather than the mountain bike? We talked about like male and female as well earlier, didn't we?
If you ask me as a female, and with the experience I have for more than 13 years now, I think that people have learned that they can use an e-mountain bike as with the same sportive factor for their health, for their fitness, whatever they want to do, on the same stage like they ride a normal mountain bikes. In the beginning, we were really struggling with tons of men, especially in the past, who said, no, I'm not ill, and just ride my mountain bike, you know?
Right?
But now they have learned they can do exactly the same. They can reduce their speed, they can train themselves. But we always said higher, longer, wider. That's the translation for me for e-mountain bike.
So do you actually think it's taken 14 years for that acceptance to be well-grounded, do you think?
It was a long time, I would say, when I'm thinking about 14 years. But yeah, it's clear. I have learned that it takes a while to get all kind of different people and their thinkings more or less in one boat. And I think e-bike is everywhere. I think it will keeps going on. And I think that the bike industry itself, and especially e-bikes, have all their arguments for the future on their side. Sustainability, health, fitness, climate protection. So I think the future is on bikes.
And what about the advances then? Obviously, you know, you've got Raymond bikes. I mean, where do you see the key advances in the next 5 years with eMTBs going to be?
I would say, first of all, of course, digitalization will be everywhere. This is the next innovation I'm believing, also transforming systems like airbags, like ABS systems, you know, which is transformed out of other mobility things like cars, I think. And the next big thing is, for me, weight, reduction
Do you
of
think?
weight
Yeah.
in mountain bikes. And also here we will have two different segments. There will be the riders concentrating on the max of battery volume and the max of Newton meter in the motor. But there will be the sportive ones who want to have a lightweight bike because they are strong enough to have only 50 Newton meters, which is far enough,
Yeah.
you know, and less battery capacity. And this will reduce the weight tremendously.
I mean, that's where we are currently at. I mean, do you think that full power bikes will move further away from the mid to light assist bikes in the future? Do you think the gap will be increasingly larger, or will they become closer?
Good question, but I think there will be two ways in the future that people can make their own choice, even more than they can today. And I think if a people is sportive enough, what I mentioned before, he can take a bike he wants to have for his own fitness, energy and everything. But people who wants to have the other thing, they are able to do as well. So that means the bicycle market will somehow get a split of consumer needs.
I mean, it's a tough choice to make, isn't it?
You can do both. You can buy the next one. So, and of course,
Yeah.
and this is something maybe I want to mention, especially for the German market. If you say why we are growing so strong, one thing we have to mention, and this is these leasing concepts Germany has, that employees can lease bikes via their employer, and this helps a lot, even to afford a few bikes.
God, it'd be good to see more of that, wouldn't it? So what would you, obviously you've got Raymond, you've done HaiBike. This might be a difficult question. What would you say to somebody who maybe wants to set up a new bike company at this moment in time?
Okay, at this moment in time, it's a bit tough. Yes, of course, due to the Corona case and the booming market we had before in 2019, the industry and the market is now very stuffed with far too many bikes out of the Corona, the post-Corona time, let me say. But I think the demand is there. People are still keen on bikes. We will get back. The market will be recovered, in my personal thinking, from the mid of next year on. You know, the big stocks of bicycles are gone. New innovations are waiting. I'm very sure Raymond will present a few very soon. And then I think we're expecting a stable market.
Excellent. Well, we certainly hope so. I mean, you and Felix have pioneered so many things. I mean, you know, the HaiBike, e-mountain biking. Are there things out there which you've not done yet, which you are looking to do in the future?
Our task at the moment is to build up our new brand Raymond, which actually comes from the second name of my husband, who is coming from Latin America. Raymond comes from Raimundo, who is his second name.
Yeah.
And this is for me, or for us, the most important thing at the moment, to build up this new company, to still be a kind of pioneer. That's very important because we are both thinking innovation is a must-have in this industry. And that's what we are working on. And we are bike enthusiasts, both.
Fantastic.
And we keep on going, even in our age.
Our age. Got to thank Susie and also Felix, who's stage left here. Susie, just one last thing. Have you ever thought that maybe you could join us on the EMBN as a presenter?
No, not till today, but we can think about that.
That's great. Susie, thanks so much for joining us in Garda, and looking forward to going riding some Raymond bikes in the hill very soon. So see you then.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.